Hello everybody, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. I'm Tamara. Today's video is full of recipe inspiration, some quick and easy meal ideas. We are just trying to get our family fed. These are a few meals that I cooked up for us over the month of February. These are some of our favorites. I really hope y'all enjoyed today's video. Now, if you watch all of my videos religiously, you have seen a couple of these already, but I know a lot of you guys are here just for food content, so I wanted to make sure to add those as well. So a few of these will be repeats if you are a religious watcher, but nonetheless, I really hope y'all enjoy it, and let's go ahead and jump right on in. We're going to start out with some chicken burrito bowls. I've got about 4 to 5 chicken thighs there, and I'm just going to give those a season. I'm going to drizzle them with some olive oil. I'm going to add salt, pepper, some cumin, oregano, garlic powder, onion powder, and some paprika. I'm just seasoning with my heart. I didn't follow a recipe or anything. I just threw it together. Now I'm going to coat this chicken really well in those seasonings, and then I'm going to cover this and just let it sit in the fridge for about an hour. I have just rinsed and drained my black beans. I'm going to add that into my pot with a little bit of butter. I'm going to use the same seasonings that I seasoned the chicken with, and then I am going to add some chicken broth to this, and we're just going to let these heat up. And then I'm also going to fry up some corn in my skillet as well, and that's going to be 2 of our toppings to go with our burrito bowls. For the corn, I'm just going to kind of heat it through and give it some color. I've got a little bit of coconut oil in the bottom of that pan, and I'm just going to add the corn in, and then I'm just going to give it another season, similar seasonings that I used before, and I'm just going to, like I said, I'm just going to heat this through and just get some nice color on this corn. This is one of my favorites. I like to do this just as a side in general. You can add some bacon in here. You can add some onion if you wanted to. This is a really easy side, and it goes really good with these burrito bowls. I'm going to go ahead and get my rice started in the microwave. It only takes a few minutes to do. That's why I love using minute rice. Now, I make my own. I'll have that video linked down below in case you missed it. I just cook rice, dehydrate it, and then, store it in my pantry to have quick and easy rice meals whenever I need to. Now, a great way to sneak veggies in if you need to, especially into rice, is adding riced cauliflower. No one ever knows. You can't tell that it's in there because honestly, it's about the same texture in my opinion. So this is such a great way to add veggies in whenever you can. So I did about a cup of that, and then I'm just going to add my water. You can use chicken broth. I meant to because I added the chicken broth to the beans, but I totally forgot. You can add chicken broth, you can add seasonings, you could add salsa if you want it to be like a salsa rice, but this one I just left as plain rice because I'll add salsa as a topping for my burrito bowl. Chicken is all done. I always cook extra, that way I have it for, the next couple days. And if we don't eat it, then I can just freeze it and have already cooked chicken in the freezer. This is the rice and cauliflower, and look, y'all can't even tell that there's cauliflower in that. Got some nice color on my corn. I love this stuff. It is so good. And then we've got our beans. Now, let's put together my burrito bowl. Of course, you can add anything and everything to the top of your burrito bowl, load it up with whatever toppings you want. I'm going to add on some blended cottage cheese. I love using this in place of sour cream because it bumps up the protein. I'm also going to add either guacamole or avocado. It just depends on what I have on hand. I'm going to add some cheese, and I'm going to add some salsa as well. This was one of my favorite meals that I fixed this month, and I am ready to have it again. Homemade hamburger helper is a go-to for us. We definitely have it a couple times a month. It is so easy to put together, and I always have everything on hand to make some sort of a version of hamburger helper. This night we just kept it simple and did just a classic cheeseburger hamburger helper. I'm gonna go ahead and brown that ground beef. I added in some onion, and I just seasoned it with just some salt, pepper, and garlic. You season with your heart, and you're just gonna let that cook all the way through. Sides to go with it, I pulled out some corn from the freezer that we put up back in the summer, corn on the cob, and then I'm also going to open up a can of our sweet carrots and have those as well. Once your hamburger meat is cooked, if there's any grease, of course, drain the grease, and then now we're going to add in our water and milk. Now, the recipe that I'm loosely following, it's one of my old recipes, but I've switched it now that I cook a little bit different. I will have it linked down below, but I'm gonna add in my water, my milk, and then I'm gonna add in my pasta. Now, I season it with my heart. I season it with paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper. I season this in layers. I'll season a little bit now before it starts, cooking and thickening up. And then we'll come back and we'll season it again towards the end if it needs extra seasonings. Once you add in your pasta, you're just going to kind of mix it all together. I give it a season, and then I'm going to reduce the heat a little bit to about medium, and then we're just going to let this cook. The pasta is going to cook through, and everything's going to start thickening up. Once the pasta is cooked through, I always just taste test it, to make sure that it's cooked through. I'm going to add in a can of cream and mushroom soup. Now, as you can see, there is still some liquid in there, and that's okay. It's all going to thicken up once you add your cheese and everything. So I'm going to add that cream of soup in, and then I'm just using what cheese I had in the fridge, whatever I had shredded already. I'm pretty sure it was a little bit of mozzarella and some Colby Jack. I'm just going to add that in, and then of course give it another season, and then I'm just going to stir that, and everything's going to come together, and it's going to get nice and thick. This is one of our monthly favorites. Here is everything. Such a quick and easy supper. Definitely a favorite of ours. I did have some bread, so I made some quick garlic bread to go along with this as well, but this was delicious and definitely a monthly staple. I love roasted veggies any way I can get them. This night I decided to roast up some carrots and some Brussels sprouts. I keep it super simple when I do roasted veggies. I drizzle them with a little bit of olive oil. I season them with some salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika. I do like to drizzle it with some balsamic vinegar, and I just toss everything together and get it put on a sheet and get it baked in the oven. My oven's preheated at 400, and we will just, cook these until they're cooked through. Now, whenever I roast Brussels sprouts, I always accidentally get them a little bit darker than planned, and that is what happened. In this video, I had chunked up the carrots, and so I was trying to get the carrots to cook, and the Brussels sprouts, those are two different textures. So that was my bad, but these still turned out great. So I just keep it simple with those seasonings, but I did want to mention that I have been adding turmeric into a lot of different dishes now because I've learned that there's a lot of health benefits with turmeric, and so I have been adding turmeric into all kinds of different recipes. It doesn't have a huge flavor in my opinion, but like I said, there's a ton of health benefits, so anytime I can add turmeric, I definitely do so. So we're just going to add the seasoning to these, get these tossed, and get these put in the oven. Now to go along with this as well, I fixed mashed cauliflower, which I thought I filmed, but I guess I didn't. But on the stove, I just put some water on in a pot, and then I added my cauliflower in, and I'm just going to cook that until it's fork tender. I did season that water with a little bit of salt. To go along with our veggies, we're going to grill some chicken. I have just seasoned the chicken on both sides with salt, pepper, and garlic powder and onion powder. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of W sauce on there, and we're just going to let that sit a couple minutes, and then we'll get that on the grill. Super simple, and I feel like the chicken always has a really good flavor just with using these basic ingredients. Now that the cauliflower has been cooked, I just drained off that liquid, and then I'm going to add a little bit of butter. I'm going to season it with some salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. And then I'm going to add a little bit of milk, and I'm just going to mash this until it's the consistency that we like. This was our first time trying mashed cauliflower, and surprisingly, Luke and I both really liked it, so I think it will be a side dish that I can incorporate more. Winston, of course, was not a fan, but y'all, he doesn't even like mashed potatoes, so I figured he wouldn't like this because he just doesn't like that texture in general. But for Luke and I both to like these, I was happy about it, and I will definitely be making these again. They were so simple, and I feel like you could even, you can use quick frozen bags, or, you can use fresh, whatever you might have on hand, but this was such an easy side dish. Look over the Brussels sprouts because they are a little darker than I would have liked, but I was trying to cook those carrots through. I guess I should have cut those a little bit thinner, but oh well, mistakes happen, and we still ate it, and it was delicious. So what I like to do sometimes with roasted veggies is add some Parmesan cheese. So I'll roast them, get them to where I like them, and then I'll add my cheese, put them back in there for a couple minutes, and the cheese gets nice and crispy. And I honestly would prefer this over French fries. I'm not playing. These roasted veggies with that crunchiness and the saltiness with the cheese and everything, I like this so much better than French fries. This is one of my favorites. So here's everything. We've just grilled the chicken. We've got our veggies done. This was so good. This meal I needed, and it was delicious. So good. Another quick and easy one for us is Sloppy Joe's. I've got a couple pounds of hamburger meat there, and I'm adding in some chopped up peppers and onions, and I'm just going to cook that until it is cooked through. I am going to season it with some salt and pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder, of course. Y'all know that's like my basic, plus paprika. That's like my basic seasonings that I add to everything. But I'm just going to cook this. Now, I don't follow a recipe when it comes to Sloppy Joe's. I'll try to find something similar with like maybe similar ingredients for you guys, and I'll have it linked. But this is one of the things that I just go by look and taste. So let me show you how I fix it. Once your hamburger meat is cooked, drain any grease if you need to, and then we're going to add in some tomato sauce. Now, normally I add in more tomato sauce, but that was the last of my home canned tomato sauce, and I didn't have any extra tomato sauce anywhere in the house. So I supplemented in with some ketchup. It worked out great, but I do normally just do tomato sauce. I'm adding in a couple tablespoons of mustard, adding in some W sauce, and then I do add a little bit of brown sugar. I add in some seasonings, salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika. I add in some ground mustard. Like I said, I don't measure. I season with my heart. This is one of these things that I just look at it, and then, once it gets to the consistency that I like, I will heat it up a little bit. I will taste test it. If it needs more seasoning, I add more seasoning. That's just kind of how this recipe is. I just go by look and feel. So once I add everything in, I will just let it sit and simmer for about, 10-15 minutes, and it is good to go. You could put this in the crock pot too if you needed like a quick meal to fix ahead of time. This is a great one that can go in the crock pot, and then your family can come back to it whenever you need to. But I'm just going to mix everything together. And like I said, I did add in ketchup just because I didn't have enough tomato sauce on hand. Here is the Sloppy Joe meat when it is done. We served this with some homemade potato wedges. I forgot to film that again. I'm so sorry. If you want to see that, definitely let me know, because that's something that we do have regularly. They are so good, and I love a nice you know, crunchy on the outside and soft on the inside potato wedge, and that's how these are. They're delicious. And we served these on some homemade rolls, and this was another quick and easy meal. I am working on getting supper in the crock pot. I just got some meatballs that I made myself. I'll have this video linked down below. I did like a big freezer stock up. So I'm just gonna dump those in. I am doing like a Mississippi style meatball. Got some water here. I'm gonna add in some of my dry ranch. I'll have all of these videos where I made all this stuff. I'll have it linked down below and the recipes, but I love this ranch. And then also brown gravy. I use this one interchangeable with au jus as well. You could definitely use beef broth instead of water, but I ain't worrying about it today. So I'm just gonna mix this together. And then I'm just gonna pour it over the meatballs. Then I've got some banana peppers that I canned in 2022. And I'm gonna add some of those in. And then I'm just gonna add some of the juice. And I'm just gonna put the lid on this and let this cook for about 4 to 6 hours. The meatballs are fully cooked, so I'm just heating everything through, and I'm just gonna let that gravy get nice and thick on the meatballs. I forgot to add a little bit of butter on top. I'm just gonna add a couple pads. And then now, we'll put the lid on it and let it cook on low for about 4 to 6 hours. The meatballs are done. I didn't end up having to add anything else in there. Look how like thick. It's got nice and thick, so I didn't worry about adding anything. I probably could thin it out a little bit, honestly, but I'm just gonna roll with it. I'm tired and hungry. So there's the meatballs. They smell really good. I'm excited to give those a try. We've had Mississippi style chicken and roast, but we've not had it as meatballs, so I thought it'd be something different to try. And then I just cooked up some mashed potatoes and got some corn that I had put up back in last summer that we had in the freezer. I just cooked some of that. So that is it, our quick and easy supper for tonight. Last but not least, we're gonna make a creamy pesto chicken pasta. This was the first time trying a version of this, and I will have the recipe inspiration linked down below, but y'all know how I am. I'm just using what I have on hand, and I didn't necessarily follow the recipe to a T. So in my pan there, I've got a couple tablespoons of oil, and I'm just heating that up, and then I'm gonna go ahead and cook up my peppers and onions. We like ours cooked down more, so I always add them first and then give them, a head start to cook, and then I will move them to the side, and then we will add in our chicken. So the chicken, I have just cut it up, and I've just seasoned it with my basic seasonings. Y'all already know what I normally use. And we're just gonna cook this together until the chicken is cooked all the way through. Once the chicken's cooked through, I'm gonna add in a couple tablespoons of pesto and give everything a good toss. I'm gonna add in the heavy cream, and then I'm gonna reduce the heat and let that start heating through and thicken it up a little bit. And I'm gonna give this another season. I'm gonna use salt, pepper, garlic powder, and some onion powder. And then I'm going to add my cheese. Now, I would have rather had either Parmesan or mozzarella for this. That's more of a go-to whenever I'm making more of an, like an Alfredo. But all I had, or I was just using what I already had in the fridge that was open. So I'm pretty sure it was just like a Colby Jack blend, but it still turned out really good. And honestly, this was one of Luke's favorites that I fixed recently. He was like, I don't know what this is, but it is really good, very flavorful. We love pesto, and so this was such a great way to change up our normal pesto dishes that we normally have. After I add the cheese in, I'm just going to let all that, melt together and let it finish thickening up. I already cooked my pasta. I cooked it separately. And then we were cleaning out the pantry. So we had 2 different kinds of pastas. I was just trying to, empty out a couple ends and bits of pasta boxes. And then I did also cook up some broccoli in the microwave. I had mine over broccoli and the boys had theirs over pasta. These were just a few delicious meals that I cooked up for the month of February. I really hope y'all enjoyed today's video. I hope it gave you some new meal inspiration. All of these meals are definitely favorites of ours. So quick and easy to be able just to throw together. I really hope y'all enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.